Hey everybody. So this is the Alesis Nitro Mesh electronic drum set. And I've had it for about 4 or 5 months now. Probably more along 4. And so far I really like it. So I figured I could do a quick little review on it. Maybe add in a couple little features that I've done or things that maybe other people can do to their set. Um, so the first thing you can see is I originally bought I bought it at Guitar Center, the regular 5-piece kit that you get. But I've greatly added to it in the last 4 or 5 months. Um, Basically added a whole second kit in pieces. I didn't go buy a second kit, but I probably should have, but I didn't because I was adding slow. But anyway, so I basically have a full double bass kit now. Um, It's worked out pretty nice. The only thing is, if you ever want to do that, you got to buy a second module. That way you can control half of it on one and half on the other. So far, I really like it, especially since it didn't cost me $6,000 or more. You know, I'm not a serious drummer. It's more of a hobby, obviously. But it feels good to actually sit behind something again and have the freedom to do whatever I want, uh, which is nice. So, but basically, um, it's tight, but you can definitely get 4 times across the top. You know, spacing the clamps out just right, gives you just enough room to get the 4 across there. And you can run those into one module, I believe. They give you enough space for those. But once you have the floor tom, I think or no, I'm sorry, you can run all the drums into one module. And then you can add your bass drums to the second module. You technically can split off of the snake off of one module up here uh, for the bass drums. But what I was noticing when you split them and ran them through the snake to the programmed bass drum input, I guess it would skip. Even though you're hitting double bass, you're skipping, you're doing whatever you want. It would literally miss the beat. So when I bought the second module, I ran them into the extra tom port here, and I noticed now that it does not skip a beat at all. It does anything I want it to do, no matter how fast I skip, which is great. So if you're having that issue, uh, you can definitely remedy that by not using the labeled bass drum cord from the snake and plug it into the extra tom port. So even if you don't have well, technically 6 drum pads on top, you can use the extra tom port here for your bass drums in lieu of the one they give you in the snake. And I think the results will be a lot better. I have a double pedal system, or separately a double pedal system, not a double pedal, not a double beater pedal. Geez, that's a tongue twister. Because of everybody saying that these particular bass drum pads, they just don't accommodate double beaters. So I chose to do separate bass drums, as you would with a full kit. The splitters, you can split cymbals. This is just a Y splitter. Uh, I have a couple of these on here. These you can make. I made this. It's just 1 in and 2 out. 3/4 inch mono jacks. Just solder them together. Piece of cake, not a problem. So I have a high and a low cymbal on both sides. They're identical, and I definitely have space with the second module to make these cymbals completely different sounds if I wanted. I just didn't want to run the whole separate snake across. You can see I got a ton of wires as it is. But you can absolutely use splitters to split your bass drums up, to split your cymbals up. The cymbal on the end there, right now it's a China Crash, but it could be a ride. It can be anything I want it to be. It's a good set, and I love the mesh drum heads. The feel of them is 90% authentic to a regular drum head, which is great. Like in the past, when all these electronic drums had rubber heads on them, they were just horrible. You know, you might as well go back to being a 5-year-old beating on pots and pans in your couch cushions, because that's how bad those rubber pads were. They're just horrible. But now that they've put mesh heads on everything, just what a difference. You know, and they're replaceable, and they're not some weird special size. You know, I'm pretty sure you can put any 8-inch mesh head on there and it'll work, which is fantastic. So yeah, basically hi-hat, high, low, and my china or ride or whatever I want it to be, which is cool. Another little trick I found. So the bass drum pedals, they're okay. They're certainly not DW. They're not Tama. They're not. You can't even put them in the same comparable scale. But anyway, what I did find. Normally these come with a black plastic piece right here, and after the first couple months, I had already wore it out, where the center hole was basically whittled out, and it just kind of flip-flopped on there. So I got online and I bought, these are brass thumb screws with a 1/4-inch center hole. So what you do is you take that and drill it out just a little bit bigger than the post that's on here. There's a little post in here, just so it can spin freely but not wobble. And I put a little grease on them, put them back on, and now they're perfect. They can spin, but there's no free movement. And what a difference that made with timing, accuracy. There's no funky sounds now. It just made a world of difference. The pedals feel like different pedals now. So because this kit is basically 2 kits, I had to buy additional rack pieces so I could accommodate my cymbals. So what I did was I just bought additional, I think these are 1 3/8, and then the main tubes are 1 1/2, I believe. And I clamped those on again with limited space, especially over here. There's one, you know, it's crazy how tight this is now. But you can mount your cymbals to it and put them out just enough at an angle to bring your cymbals back so they're not in your face. They're not directly over top of your drums, because obviously you'll hit those. So, and it's worked out fantastic. You know, and if I find that a cymbal feels like it's on top of me a little bit, I can move that out, and it solves the whole problem. So, for those of you who don't own this set and don't really know anything about it, it's got a few hundred different drum sounds of all various types. There's really no drum sound you're going to be looking for that this can't provide you with. I think there's even voices counting 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. I mean, everything you could possibly imagine. The one thing I want to say is when you plug this thing in for the first time and you hear the drum sounds, they're okay. But a lot of people are judging this thing, from what I've seen, off of the initial sounds you hear when you first plug it in. And the trick is you gotta adjust the EQ yourself. You gotta adjust the pitch of the drums, what type of drums. It's really your preference. But I found that if you crank the reverb, it gives it that realistic, warm sound. It makes the drums warmer, not so dead and stiff sounding. Let me see if I can one-hand some stuff here. You're probably going to hear the clicks from the drumsticks, but it's better than nothing. definitely brings out the natural echo that you would probably get from a real drum set in a larger room. You know, the natural, obviously I know it's not natural reverb on this, but I'm trying to mimic that. So I've just noticed that if you crank the reverb, it just brings out that more natural sound. So the sounds you get when you first plug it in are very basic and dead and dry and stiff sounding. So you really got to adjust it. And it took me probably a month of fine tuning to just finally get the drum tones, the pitch of each drum, everything that I wanted. And so far it has not disappointed me. For those of you who don't know, there's a headphone jack on this too, so you don't really make the neighbors and your parents very angry. Let's see if we can. So they give you your MIDI outs. If you have that, you've got an extra tom, an extra cymbal 1/4 inch port, and you have your right and left being your mono. That's where you're going to run your cable out if you're not running stereo. I have 2 modules, so I just run 2 left cables out to a mixer. You have an aux in, so you can run headphones, or I'm sorry, MP3, outside music sources into it, so it all mixes together in the unit. You have USB. They've pretty much given you every reasonable accommodation with this, which is pretty nice. But again, this for a low cost kit, you know, this thing actually is pretty darn good versus a $6,000 Roland. You can't beat it. You really can't. So I put a little drumstick bag there, and I bought a cell phone holder from Target in the bike section. Works great. I bought a cup holder from Target at the bike section, so it fits perfect. For those of you out there who might need a cold drink after drumming for an hour or so, it's a really nice set. It's a really nice set. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope all of you stay safe and have a nice day. Bye-bye.